I guess I'll direct this back to you then. Um, a lot of the people in the pro rel world think that you'll get an instant increase in fan retention, in viewership, all these type of things. Do you think something like this would happen if they were to implement this at USL level?
Not a chance. Not
Okay,
a chance.
very
Do you
very astute.
do you think that people are refusing to watch the NBA because the Westchester Knicks don't have a shot to play in the NBA? There's no chance. Like it works in other countries for various reasons. Every sport in the US does not have a promotion relegation. Every major sport in the US does not have a promotion
Mhm.
relegation system. It's the same teams year in, year out, with the very rare exception that a team moves or a new team comes in or a team folds. But it's the same teams year in, year out. And popularity for these sports are through the roof. If you were to add promotion relegation, I don't think that would change things for people. If anything, it would hurt it because now these teams will start falling into lower leagues, losing more fan retention, and then in turn losing a bunch of money from it too. I don't want to like stray too far from the question, but I just don't think that people are going to be like, wow, I have to tune in, week out to USL now because I want to watch a team fight against relegation. I don't think people were watching before. I don't think promotion relegation is what's going to get them to watch it now. To me, people watch because they want to see star players. They want to see Thiago Almada. They want to see Leo Messi. They want to see Hani Mukhtar. Until you in USL doesn't really have that because they don't have the financials of MLS, and there's a big gap. I mean, that's kind of like our a huge argument for us against Pro Rel right now for the US is because of the financial gap between USL and MLS. So USL doesn't have the financials to go get those star players that will get people tuning in and watching. I think Pro is a good step later on once you've really established yourself and you are able to like consistently bring in good big names like MLS is starting to do. But it needs time. I don't think USL has that. So I don't think people are magically going to start tuning in just because there's a chance a couple teams in USL championship get relegated to USL 1.
So I will play a little bit of a devil's out. I agree with you. However, football is a different game, right? We've seen it implemented before, and a lot of people play the argument that, well, look at all these people who are watching overseas football content. It's got to be because of pro rel, and I would push back on that a little bit. What I would say is for the first few years, I think you do see that bump in attendance and viewership because it's different, it's unique, right? It's something that you wouldn't see before. But here's really where I think you see the impact, and it's similar across every league and every world. You don't see the impact in the middle of the season. You might see it at the beginning, but you really see it in the last 2 to 3 games for the year. Maybe the last 4 or 5 if it's a big race, right? But every time somebody will post something about, oh my God, this race is so tight, I can't believe it, I can't believe it. They haven't watched a single game of that league all year, but they're just following the storyline. Why? Because they're in it for the entertainment. It's not necessarily for the game itself, right? Or the team itself. Now, that being said, that is what would bring people in, the entertainment aspect of it. However, is it repeatable? Do you bring them back year over year? I don't know. Because if you look at what our fan base or where our target fan base should be, personally, my um, thought, we're not going after the Euro snobs anymore. We shouldn't be. Because at the end of the day, if we fix one thing, they've got 9 other things on their plate that they're not going to watch X, Y, or Z for. And at the end of the day, it's mainly because Erling Haaland and Mbappe are not playing here, so I'm not watching. Whatever. But your target audience, to me, should be that soccer mom and soccer dad who have kids playing soccer, loving the game, but have never done it themselves. Now you're going to go and bring them into an idea that you can either go to a USL Championship, USL One game where it's super family friendly atmosphere. Kids have a great time. They love the game. Good energy. Games are usually pretty fun. They enjoy it. Or you can say, hey, we're going to give you a chance and you can take into this team, but they might not be playing against these players next year. Will they stick around? And I use the example of Chattanooga, right? So Chattanooga's got two sides. It's got a third division NISA side, and it's got a third division USL one side. So what is stopping somebody from staying a Chattanooga versus Chattanooga, which is great, but the second one of those teams go down, just say, I'm just going to watch the other one, right? And I go back to your point saying it's not about the team yet. You don't have that connection because the game isn't there yet, right? I lost my notes here. Hold on. So, oh, okay. So another benefit. I got lost because there's something good there. Another benefit of what we're doing here is, as we mentioned, these are in areas that don't have many local pro sports. Lexington, the closest pro sport is Cincinnati, and the closest sport after that is college basketball and college football. So you have the opportunity to build something unique there, which is similar across all things. But ProRel doesn't save U.S. soccer by drawing attention, right? It draws attention to those people who are getting into the. Okay, sorry, gotta edit all this out. So we'll pick it up back. We'll pick it back up. So we talked about when we got cut off. We were talking about how right your target audience isn't the Eurosnobs who have 9 different reasons not to watch League A, B, C, D, but it's really the people who are trying to get in new, right? And you're trying to argue, not argue, but you're trying to convince them that hey, your team is going to be playing in a lower division against lower talent with all of your players that you're probably going to have to sell and replace. So you're not going to know a majority of the people who are back on that side. Or you're going to get somebody in there and say, okay, I know this group of players. I like the way they play. I know the players they're playing against. I know the teams they're playing against, the rivalries, this, that, and the other. And you grow it a little bit more organically, like you mentioned, as an American side. That's something the American game does. And it's something that a lot of people in this country are just comfortable with and used to and understand. I'm not saying people can't understand pro rel, but I think it might be a drawback for the casual because they've got a team and now their team is being affected and they're not like completely invested yet. Now, there are that other group that are going to be completely invested. Oh, we went down. It kills me. I can't wait to go back up. But I don't think the question that gets asked enough is why does that feeling happen across every country in Europe, in South America, all this stuff? Why? Because the game's been there for 100+ years. This is their, why are you a Giants fan? Why am I a Jets fan? Why is my buddy a Dolphins fan? Why are we Mets and Knicks and Rangers and all these other fans? Because our parents did, and our parents before them did it, right? That connection has been there for generations. We're just the first generation getting into this, really. Maybe the second, depending on who you look at. So, yeah, there's that idea that there are going to be some people who stick with it and live and die by it, but the majority of them don't have that connection to a team. They're just going to let it go. And maybe when they come back up, oh, okay, I'll start watching again. But are they going to have that revenue, right? And the last example I want to get before we move on is let's talk Miami FC, right? Miami FC and USL right now. Let's say they go from USL Championship down to USL 1. You're trying to build lifelong fans from the ages of like 10 to 15 right now. Get them involved and say, this is going to be my team forever, right? How are you going to tell them, yeah, watch us play in USL 1 when the greatest player of all time is playing 2 blocks down at Inter Miami Stadium? You know, these are the questions that I don't think get spoken about enough because yes, it's very, very nice to say this is how it should be. Imagine if. How great would it be if? Lots of ifs, lots of imagines. But when you get down to it, the logistics do get a little bit fuzzy. But that's just my 2 cents. I think pro rel again has its positives, and I've said this for a while. I do think there are positives. It grows the grassroots game, puts money at youth games. There's a ton of positives that come about it. However, it does bring more instability to a system that isn't quite ready for it yet, in my opinion.